Oh, sorry. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to our super secret parking garage filming location. I'm Chase.
And I'm Jobe.
And this is The Overrun. All right, so we are here to answer the $58,365 question. Do you buy a Toyota Supra in 2023? Obviously, the car was kind of much maligned when it came out. People were very upset at the B for BMW 58 engine and the other BMW-ness in the interior, which we will most certainly be covering here and now. But the big news for 2023 is the new manual transmission, as well as the power updates that this car has gotten. We're now at 382 horsepower as opposed to another number that was lower than that, which helps it compete a little bit more with cars like the Ford Mustang and the BMW M2. Primarily here, we're going to be comparing it to the BMW M2 because as this car sits, it's about $6,000 off the BMW M2 that I, your host, would be ordering if I found that money in a parking lot. Let's talk about the powertrain.
And now onto the powertrain of the Toyota Supra. This is using the BMW B58 engine, the classic 3-liter inline-six from BMW, which has been quite controversial. In terms of the competition, on the cheaper end, you have the Nissan Z, which uses a twin-turbo V6, which produces 400 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. On the top end, you have the BMW M2, which this is about $6,000 cheaper than, but that uses another inline-six, which produces 450 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, which is absolutely bananas. But yeah, those are kind of all the competitors and their respective powertrains.
So the other X factor in this equation is obviously the 2024 Ford Mustang. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that that car is all new for 2024. Ford has decided to keep the 5-liter Coyote V8, which now develops 486 horsepower and 418 pound-feet of torque. That also offers a 6-speed manual, just like the Supra, and that will run you about $62,000. That was Car and Driver's as tested number, so that's definitely something to keep in mind if you are in the market. Did you check my mic? Am I straight?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool.
This is super awkward. Just jumping in here while I'm editing this video to tell you that I did not, in fact, check the mic, and that entire segment is pretty much trash because you can't hear it over the road noise. So sorry about that. Chase is about to talk beautifully about the Supra's interior, and it's gone forever. But I am here to fill you in on kind of the TLDR. Basically, it is last-gen BMW. It's not very ergonomic because the manual transmission was added in way later, and the interior is not really designed to accommodate for a manual transmission. So yeah, last-gen BMW, manual transmission causes ergonomic issues, and that's all you really need to know. Okay, back to the video.
So let's talk cargo capacity. The Supra is obviously a liftback, and I would also like to personally thank Toyota for including some handles so that I don't have to touch the lovely ducktail spoiler to close it when it's all dirty. There's about 10 cubic feet of cargo space in here, which means that I, a relatively short king, can fit in the cargo space. There's tons of it. This little cargo cover also comes out, which gives you some nice room here. Obviously that inhibits your rear visibility some, but quite frankly, looking out the rear of the Supra is a lot like looking out onto the beaches of Normandy. It's very pillboxy. Other competitors have much better visibility, specifically the M2, and specifically with its camera system. But there is more than enough space in here for all of your things. If you need a slightly more practical car, the M2 is probably the answer, just because it does have back seats. While you have lost some headroom with the new generation, you do still have back seats, and on top of that, those seats can fold flat. Joby and I took the car camping, for Christ's sake, and we were able to fit an entire weekend's worth of tents, coolers, Bluetooth speakers, and of course, tons of beer. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Still, very practical car. Would not hesitate to drive this car anywhere that I might need to haul any number of smaller items.
God, can you imagine like running as a hobby? Oh. Okay, driving the Toyota Supra. I'm going to give you sort of the everyday impressions of this car, just what it would be like to drive this car as your daily in the city running errands, because that's primarily how I drove the car. So yeah, this is unscripted and likely fairly unedited as well, so keep that in mind as you hear me ramble on and on about the car. First and foremost, I think there's a couple of key factors to take into account when you're sort of assessing overall daily drivability with a car. First and foremost is probably ride comfort. This is a sports car, so it's not obviously the most comfortable and luxurious, but in my opinion, I think the ride isn't super harsh. It's not anything that I really found annoyed me. We're actually on a pretty rough road right now that is not paved very well, or has been repaved in a fairly long time. I think it's fine. You can definitely feel a lot of the bumps in the road, but the ride isn't very harsh, I don't think, at least. Again, if you were an older person or someone who's more sensitive to that, your opinion might be different. The next part would be seat comfort. Chase mentioned this in the interior review, but I think the seats are relatively comfortable. I do agree with the point that the actual seat base is relatively short, which can, I don't know, lead to some leg pain. But overall, I found that if you find the right seating position in this car, which to me is sort of upright but also leaned back into the seat, then there's really not a ton of issues with her. I didn't have a ton of issues with overall seat comfort. The last thing, that you'll really notice when just driving this car every day is the ergonomics, or just the lack thereof, in this interior. A lot of times I'd take this car to go get a coffee, and I'd set a coffee right here next to me, and when I would be shifting through the transmission, through the gears, I'd be constantly bumping into my coffee, which was quite annoying. And I don't know, just not great design in my opinion. And the last thing I want to touch on is the sound system. I'm a person who likes to just hop on the highway, or like just zone out and listen to music while I'm driving a car, especially one that is as fun to drive as this one. And the sound system was just so terrible. I mean, I feel like I had to turn it all the way up just to hear it, and that was just annoying. I didn't really like that, and even when I did turn it all the way up, the quality just wasn't really there. But yeah, those are kind of my overall thoughts. I think you could definitely daily this car, and it's definitely built to do that, and I think there's enough comfort to where you could do that relatively easily.
Okay, so let's talk about what it's like to drive the Supra fast. It's arguably the car's greatest strength, especially with that B58 engine. Second gear, good for 70 miles an hour. It's big, it's long. I don't necessarily agree with the gear ratios, but you also don't notice it because there is so much turbocharged shove in the engine. This is obviously a chassis that's shared with BMW, and as such, it definitely feels very BMW to drive quickly. The sole caveat being the somewhat lighter and more tactile steering. There's a little bit more Toyota there, and I'm kind of glad for it. I'm also very glad for the manual transmission. Frankly, given my thoughts on the car so far, I cannot see how I would be even remotely happy with the car if it had the automatic. The manual transmission, to me, is one of the sole redeeming factors of this car, in addition to the engine. If you turn the traction control off, you'll blow all the way through first and second gear. Tires smoking and screaming the whole way, and if you're down for that big power single turbo experience, this is definitely a car to consider, and it's something that none of its other competitors really deliver. If you've driven big turbo Supras before, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's that nothing, nothing, nothing bang. The B in B58 stands for bomb. If you're down for that experience, this one is a must-have, and it maybe makes it worth putting up with a lot of the other complaints I have had. However, I'm not the kind of person who is going to enjoy that experience. I like cars to be a lot more linear, and as a result of that, I don't really like the way that the Supra drives. That's not to say that the chassis is poor. I think that it handles very well. I think that when it gives up traction, it's very progressive. It's a bit of a drift missile. And if you're down for that experience, great. I just like something a little bit more analog, a little bit more flowy, and that is certainly something to keep in mind if you are kind of comparing and contrasting. Yeah, that's it, man. You wanna drive the Supra fast? It's still fun. Still Supra.
And now for the conclusion of the Toyota Supra. I guess I'll just give my quick parting thoughts. I do really like the Supra, although for the price, I'd probably just step up to the BMW M2 or step down to the Nissan Z. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good car. The old interior is a really big detractor for me, especially the infotainment system. One part that I didn't touch on that I will now is that I had a bunch of issues getting my phone connected and getting Apple CarPlay going, which for me in any modern car is kind of a deal breaker. I use Apple CarPlay all the time in my personal car, so
Yeah.
not having that is kind of annoying to me. But overall, I just think that the driving experience is not really that unique other than the transmission, which all of the other competitors offer their cars in a manual as well. So again, not a super big selling point for me.
Yeah, I think that the bare minimum thing that Toyota had to do to keep this interesting and competitive in the segment was add a manual, which they did to their credit.
Yeah.
And big ups for that, especially in 2023. However, I don't find the at-pace driving experience all that unique. Yes, this engine is fantastic, but let's also keep in mind that this engine is in like a billion other BMWs, including the last gen M2.
Yep.
Which I drove. You can still find previous gen M2s with warranties that are CPO. It's still like buying a new car. On top of the fact that the current M2 is out, there's the Mustang, there's the Z, there's just too much competition in this segment for the Supra to really feel all that relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think that there's really any like super... The problem is that there's no redeeming quality of the Supra.
There's nothing to draw me to this experience other than the B58.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, is the one thing that the Supra shares with the most of its competition.
Yeah, and the bigger problem that I have with the Supra is it doesn't feel unique in any ways because so much of the driving experience is shared with another BMW. So
Yeah.
it's really hard to want to pick this over something else that has the
I
same
love the way
powertrain.
it looks. I think that to me is the biggest draw, but it's definitely not something that's going to make me turn down other experiences, especially when I have confess that I am a huge whore for the front engine rear drive BMW experience.
Yep.
So with that in mind, thank you again so much for watching.
Thank
Please
you.
do come back next week. We're going to be testing the Lexus IS 500, another big V8 car from Lexus, and we're both very excited about it. And as always, please do remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that boilerplate stuff that you hear at the end of a YouTube video. And that's because it really does help us out with our search engine optimization. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week, guys.
Bye.